finally, after many weeks, I have finally finished Season 1 of Bloodline, and now that I have finished it, I can now review it to you guys. Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for the season of Bloodline. I know that I reviewed the first 5 episodes individually, but after the 5th episode, I told myself I don't want to review the show individually anymore, and there's a reason why I didn't want to do that. And I'm going to talk, it really goes with my only problem with the show, which is it became much slower, and I had less motivation to review it. But I have to say that overall this season of finally I did finish it, which was I think a great decision because I didn't have to worry about reviewing it once a week, which I probably will do next year, definitely. I definitely will probably do that. But I have to say, overall, how did I feel about this season of Bloodline? This was an amazing first season, for the most part. There are a few small problems. It was not a perfect season. Definitely was not perfect. I think that it did have a few small problems I do want to talk about. But overall, I really enjoyed the season. I thought it was really solid, especially towards the end. Oh my god, it got amazing towards the end. I can't wait for Season 2. What an awesome way to pull us in for Season 2. Oh my god, that cliffhanger was awesome. I'm going to talk about what's going to happen in Season 2. I'm going to talk about how I felt about all the arcs in the season. You know how I do these season reviews. And even though I reviewed the first 5 episodes, I'm just going to pretend that I'm just going to basically pick up right where the 5th episode left off and start with episode 6. So, we're going to talk about that. So, let's get to our first main storyline, which of course is all about Danny, because that's what the majority of the show is about, is trusting Danny, and that's pretty much what the show becomes after episode 6 is, can we still trust Danny, and is Danny someone that John should trust? And I really liked what we were trying to see, because at first it's just that John's trying to bond with Danny. It doesn't seem to be working very well, though. John's really hung up at work. He has that whole murder case he's investigating very heavily with Marco. He's very focused on it, and he really doesn't have time for Danny. You can tell he really doesn't have time for him. And, eventually things just start to happen with Danny. Danny just starts to become very shady. You definitely start to see a very shady part of Danny. Now, at first I thought, okay, he's going to go back with Eric. That's what I thought was going to happen. But we see that Danny's not working with Eric. He's not with Eric at all. And even not with Eric, he's still very shady. And that I thought was just really interesting that he was very shady, because I was just thinking that maybe he was going to work with Eric, but no, he doesn't work with Eric at all, honestly. He doesn't, and I liked seeing that in this season. Definitely did enjoy that, I have to say. Episode 6 is when we start to see, though, more of this villainous side of Danny, I have to say. We definitely start to see that more in episode 6, and I thought that was really well done. At first, it's more Danny protecting Chelsea, which I did really like their relationship, but we do eventually see that Danny is way too overprotective of her. In fact, there's an episode where he even says that Chelsea and Eric are more family to him than his real family is, and that's because they never really accepted, what happened there. They never really accepted him as a part of their family, but I definitely like seeing it. I thought that was really well done. I definitely really enjoyed that. And, basically, we actually find out that this is not the first case that John's been involved with, and that Danny's been involved in a lot more than we think. Years ago, when Sarah was killed, when Sarah was, basically, when Sarah drowned, there was a whole case involving this, and basically, Robert and Danny, basically, they all had to lie, and basically, to protect, Danny, basically, Kevin and John, they all had to lie to protect Danny, and I thought that was interesting that we found that out, because basically, John and him had this great conversation about how they weren't really protecting Robert when they lied. They were protecting Danny, because if they didn't help, the whole thing would blow over, and the police might investigate further into Sarah's death. But of course, Danny's insisting that her death was a total accident, but John insists that he's still to blame, and I just thought that was really interesting that we saw. And there's a moment where you think that Danny might just end his life, honestly. Episode 6, you kind of pretty much think that he might just end his life, and I thought that was really interesting. However, we very quickly find out that this whole scene is all in his head, which I thought was really well done because basically what this is showing us is this is what Danny is thinking right now. He is thinking that his whole family pretty much thinks that he pretty much thinks that he is to blame over Sarah's death. And I thought that was really interesting, and I definitely really liked seeing that. I definitely thought that was very well done the way they handled it, I have to say. I thought that was really good, definitely. I really enjoyed that. So then we basically see that Danny's trying to, reconnect with John, trying to get that bond back that they had. And I like seeing them definitely try to reconnect. I thought that was really well done. And I overall really did enjoy seeing these two try to connect. We know that John, of course, wants to be close with Danny. But he's still not entirely trusting of him. Definitely. You can tell he's not entirely trusting. You can definitely tell that. And John even has this conversation with Diana in the 7th episode where he talks about how he still feels bad about about his having to make his decision so many years ago, and he feels even worse considering the fact that he could have been the one on the boat with Sarah instead of Danny, which is true. So he really does feel bad about it, and I thought that was really interesting. So basically, a lot of this, as I said, focuses on just John and Danny trying to connect, and we definitely started to have a problem in episode 7 that I definitely do want to talk about. Episode 7's really good, I will say that. Episode 7 is a really good episode. After episode 7, though, I felt this show got a little bit too slow, and it wasn't bad, it was just the same stuff kept happening, and it was like, build, 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 and it wasn't boring, it just was pretty much just the same stuff, and I didn't really, not like it. I just found it to be a little bit not that interesting, because there's also this storyline going on with Meg, where she basically has this guy, Carlos, who she wants to defend. Meanwhile, she has that whole thing going on with Alec, where she's not texting back Alec, and he doesn't know what's going on there. But you also have something going on with Marco, which I really did like, because basically Meg and Marco, she's trying to reconnect with him, and I really like that storyline as well, her trying to reconnect with Marco. If there's anything I thought they spent way too much time on, is this whole murder case that John and Marco were involved in. We expect this to be a much bigger deal, but it really wasn't as big as a deal as it ended up being. It really wasn't, we really didn't find out anything that big about the murder case. Didn't really change anything, and I just didn't really find the murder case that interesting, I have to say. I really didn't. It was pretty much just the same stuff, them investigating this murder. I never really found it interesting because it just became like, okay, let's find the murder. It's just, can we please just move on from this murder case? Like, it wasn't boring, it was just the same stuff over and over again. I thought it was just kind of boring. I really did like what they did with Kevin's character, though, because Kevin's character is when the show really does start to change, because Kevin, basically, he actually ends up sleeping with Chelsea, which he does not tell Danny about, obviously. Meanwhile, he is still trying to reconnect with Belle, and I thought that was really well done. Definitely something I really like seeing. But eventually what ends up happening with Kevin is that he's also offered to take over, basically, if you remember that guy, Nick, he basically is offered to take over, basically, his boat and basically have the fortune that he wants, and I thought that was really interesting as well. You're not really sure if he's going to take that deal, but unfortunately, one night, basically, he is actually robbed, and he is attacked and robbed by an unknown figure, who we very quickly find out is Eric. Eric is the one that robbed him. However, Kevin doesn't suspect that it's Eric. He thinks that it's Nick that did, and I thought that was really interesting when we found out that Nick did. It honestly made me care more about Kevin's character, and I really enjoyed seeing that, I have to say. I definitely really did enjoy that. That's something I definitely thought was really good. Definitely I like seeing Kevin basically beat up, think that it was Nick that did it. And episode 9 is really when things start to pick up, because here we start seeing that Danny starts to get close with John's children. In fact, there's this great scene where Danny is just talking, getting really close with Janie, especially Janie. And this really starts to concern Diana, because she really doesn't feel like Danny should be around the kids. She doesn't feel like he's stable enough, and just really doesn't trust Danny around the kids at all. She doesn't want him there, and I thought it was really interesting what they started to do there. I definitely really did enjoy that, I have to say. So I definitely really enjoyed what they did with that. But something definitely I will say is that, as I said, episode 9 just was kind of boring. Episode 8 was kind of boring. Episode 10, I think, is when things really started to pick up, I have to say. I thought episode 10 is when things got really good, and I definitely really did love pretty much everything going on in episode 10. By the way, at this point, Marco and Meg are engaged to be married. They are planning on getting remarried, but I really didn't think it was going to happen. I'm just like, there's no way this wedding is going to happen. It's just, after all they've been through, Marco has to find out about Alec at some point. I knew that they really weren't going to get married. I knew that wasn't going to happen. So basically what ends up happening in episode 10 is that Danny definitely starts to become a lot more villainous and a lot more terrifying, I have to say, because before I kind of cared about Danny. Episode 10 is when you really when you really realize that Danny is not to be trusted whatsoever, because we find out this really awesome stuff with Danny. We get this really good stuff with him, and I definitely really enjoyed that. First of all, he starts to completely isolate himself from the family. He starts hanging out a lot more with Chelsea and Eric, whether or not it's the right thing to do. And we see that Chelsea, basically is talking to Eric, and basically we see that Chelsea really gets upset with Eric as well, which I thought was really interesting. I definitely really enjoyed seeing that. Also, seeing Eric's reaction to robbing Kevin and him not really feeling that bad about it, I thought was really interesting, I have to say, because he really didn't feel that bad about it. I was surprised by how he really wasn't surprised, because Eric's not a good person, obviously, so I wasn't surprised that he wasn't bad, but he didn't really feel bad about it. I can understand that. So, and basically we find out very quickly that this guy Rafi is the one that this guy, Lowry is the one that is the one involved in this murder case. And while I enjoyed that overall, I like that we did eventually close it. They stopped focusing on it after episode 10. It's like, that's done. It's done, and that was fine, but I just felt like, really, that's really what we're... Because I thought they were going to reveal that Danny, murdered them or something. That's not really what we find out here, and I was thinking that that's what was going to happen. And then, after episode 10, that is when this show starts to get fucking amazing. Episode 11, 12, and 13 are fucking amazing. I loved everything about those episodes. They were such amazing episodes, and such well done stories as well, I have to say. Because episodes 11, 12, and 13, this is when we start to see Danny as himself, as he truly is. Because we find out that Danny, the whole question is, why the fuck would Danny just randomly come back, even when John told him to go, and he came back? Why would Danny want to come back? I mean, his family gives him shit, his father gave him shit, why would he want to come back? What was the whole point of him coming back? The reason he came back was genius. He did come back to basically, because they start to wonder why exactly he did come back, and Danny actually threatens John at the end of episode 10, basically tells him that you have no idea what you're doing, and that I'm going to, I've been playing the family the whole time, and I thought that was really interesting that we found that out. So, pretty much after episode 11 is just when things start to get insane, pretty much. It really is true. So, Kevin does eventually find out that Eric is the one that attacked him, and he asks Danny if he illustrated the attack with Eric, and Danny indirectly admits that it was him, saying that, if it was him, that he's sorry, but he really doesn't give two shits, honestly. You can tell that he doesn't, and I like the way he started to portray Danny as more this villainous figure, because I really wasn't buying him as this redeemed man. I really wasn't seeing it happening. It didn't seem really like anything was changing. So I could definitely tell that there was definitely something more going on with Danny. I could tell. I really couldn't, I really didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but I pretty much knew that there was something definitely going on with Danny. Because basically, they find all of this cocaine on the boat, of course, and this could get them in huge, huge trouble, basically. Because if they reveal all this cocaine, they could be drug dealers, and it's illegal, and everything they've worked for will pretty much be destroyed. And what they realize is that Danny basically came back to destroy their family legacy and basically get revenge on them, which I think is an awesome twist, and I love that. I love finding out that all this time, Danny didn't just come back to reconnect with a family. No, he came back because he wanted revenge on them. And honestly, as sick as that is, you can kind of understand why he did it, I have to say. You can understand why he did what he did because of the fact that Danny The family has given him nothing but shit from the beginning. That's why he's doing what he's doing. You can totally understand that. I have to say, that was definitely very well done. I definitely really did enjoy seeing that. I like that we got a firm answer as to what exactly was going on with Danny. So things get really crazy when basically Janie is supposed to be picked up by John because basically her and Sally had gone dress shopping for Meg and Marco's wedding. And basically, Sally, Meg, and Diana, they had gone dress shopping. And Meg tells Diana that there might not even be a wedding, and basically John had forgotten to pick her up. However, when he gets there, he realizes that Janie's gone. She went with Danny. Janie still trusts Danny, which is understandable because there's no reason for Janie not to. She doesn't really, know the things that Danny has done. She doesn't really see a reason to not trust him. So when this happens, we get this really awesome, intense scene here, which I love the way they did this scene, definitely, because you have no idea what Danny is going to do with Janie. I mean, just knowing the kind of man he is, you have no idea what's going to happen here. John is extremely concerned. He wants to find Janie immediately. He knows that Danny took Janie. He knows that, and I thought that was just really... We also find out how Sarah died in this episode. Basically, her arm got stuck between some coral when she was reaching for her dropped seahorse necklace, and he held her down until she... And basically, it held her down until she drowned. So it was a total accident, and it was no one's fault, and that I thought was really well done, because that was something we needed to see. Was it someone's fault? Was Danny responsible for it? No, he wasn't. It was totally an accident, and... That's all it was all an accident. I liked finding that out because that was something that we needed to know, was did Danny do this on, was it really an accident, or did he do it purposely? No, it was all an accident. I like finding that out. So Danny and Janie hop into the water, basically. They're goofing around. They basically are just having fun, but of course John doesn't trust Danny, and basically Danny, what we see after this is that they get a call that the boat has been found. And John asks Danny what he wants, and he's saying that he just wants to be home, and he brings Janie this present, and it's this seahorse necklace that Sarah had, and when that happened, I thought that was crazy that happened. Honestly, I thought that was a crazy scene. It was an amazing scene, and I definitely really loved the way that was done as well. I really loved episode 11 is just so awesome, honestly. It goes from just a family drama to a thriller. It turns this show into a thriller, and that was awesome. I loved that they turned the show into a thriller. That's something that they had to do, and it's something I honestly saw coming, because the way the show was going, I could definitely tell it was happening. So, naturally, John and Diana, they talk to Janie about what happened, but Janie doesn't really see a problem. She has nothing to reveal, because, nothing happened, so she has nothing really to say, and John basically tells Diana that she needs to take the kids to a hotel or something for their safety, making her furious that John hasn't solved the Danny problem, because she told him point blank, you need to do something about this. You have to solve it somehow. And basically, we see that, meanwhile, there's this guy, Ralph, who's talking to Sally in search of her son, because we don't know in this episode, something I liked about episode 12, we don't know if Danny is dead or not. We don't know the whereabouts of Danny. There's a portion of the episode where we think that Danny might be dead, and it honestly is a relief to them. Because even though Danny isn't necessarily a bad person, because he's not a bad person, the reason that Danny it's good that he's gone, it's good that it might be good that he's gone, because he's causing them so much stress and so much drama, which, yes, that was his intent, but they don't deserve it. They didn't mean to do what they did. They never really treated him like family, because they never really knew if what happened was his fault or not. And it was always their father that took the anger out on Danny, and all that, all the shit they've been through. They still can't really get over it, and I can understand that, definitely. So I thought that was really interesting as well. So they basically, most of episode 12 is searching for Danny. Where is Danny? Where's his whereabouts? Thought that was really interesting overall, I have to say. And something I thought was really good is that we do find out that Danny is alive very quickly, and he has all these last goodbyes. And you can definitely tell that either Danny is gonna, now I thought was gonna happen is Danny was gonna run away and maybe never come back, and basically maybe he was just going to start his life over, because it definitely seemed like the closing of Danny's character. It really did, which is weird, because Danny's like the second main character on this show. So seeing Danny have these final goodbyes, definitely I thought something was off. I'm like, okay, this is really weird. Why are we doing this? Now, you know what's coming. You know that we are eventually going to get to we're going to get to that point where John killed Danny. You know we're going to get to that. And throughout the whole episode, I'm just thinking, holy shit, I know we're about to get to that. What I thought they were going to do, though, is that was going to be years from now, though. I thought, basically, that Danny was going to change his name, maybe go away. I really didn't know what was going to happen here. I thought this was really interesting. Because, again, we don't really know, Danny doesn't really know about the whereabouts. I thought it was really interesting overall. Definitely, I enjoyed that. So, and also finding out that Lowry was working with Danny and everything was very interesting because, of course, Lowry was the one that killed those girls, and basically, he was working with Danny. Danny, I don't think knew about it, but he didn't try to stop it. He didn't try to do anything about it, which is understandable. I mean, you can't really blame Danny, but again, he didn't really try to do anything about it, so obviously you can't really trust him because he didn't really try to stop it, so I can understand why they're not really happy with him about that. I can totally understand that. So, eventually, John does realize that Danny is alive, and they realize that they have to do something about Danny. They have to do something, and he calls Danny from outside before he steps in, and he makes him this deal, basically. If Danny can promise John that his kids and wife will be safe, then they're good, because John doesn't know what Danny plans to do with Janie and Diana and all his kids and everything. He doesn't know what he plans to do. So I think it's a good deal overall to, be kind to my wife and kids. You're good. I'm not going to do anything to you. So, they make plans to meet in the morning, basically, but it doesn't work because Ralph rounds the corner of the building out of John's eyesight, and John ends up driving away, basically. And Marco calls John and tells him that he's on the way to the scene, and I really just love the way this episode is done because they're constantly they're on the run with Danny, and we get this amazing scene about Danny, I have to say. Something I definitely thought was evident in this season, that we really didn't have much to do with Sally's character till episode 12. Episode 12 is when Sally gets a lot more to do. I thought from, episodes, there was one episode where they tried to get us to care more about Sally. All it did was just show us how Sally was as a mother. We know she was a good mother. We know that she cared very much about her family. We don't really need to see it. I didn't really feel it added anything to her character. They tried to do it in episode 10, and episode 9, it really did not work for me. I just felt like we knew her character already. I really need to know more about her character, and I just felt like they need to give Sally maybe a little bit more to do in Season 2. I mean, we have Sissy Spacek, very, very talented actress, and she really didn't have much to do on the show, and I wish she would have had more to do. She's a great actress, and I'd love to see her have more to do in Season 2, definitely. I think she is really good on this show, I have to say. I really hope they give her more to do. So, Danny has this great scene where he finally tells his family how he feels about them. He explains that they are all now in danger since he used the family in for the process, and he tells them that he's not sorry. He's not sorry about what he did, and he finally tells Sally about his involvement with dealing drugs. He finally tells her about it. And basically, he tells them, and I love this scene because you really get to see how Danny has felt all this time. He tells me he never felt safe in the house, and now none of them can either. He's not going to let any of them feel safe. He's going to make all of them feel miserable, and he calls them all liars and labels his mother as the worst of them all, and then he leaves. And this is the moment when they realize that they need to do something about Danny immediately. They can't just make this deal with him, and, basically, because that's a legitimate threat. Danny is serious here. He's not joking here. He is serious about going after them and threatening them and doing all this shit to them. He is serious about it. So basically, what he's saying to them is completely true, and he's listening to tapes of his siblings lying about their father's attack over and over again, thinking. And we get this amazing scene between Danny and John. Now, you really don't know what's going to happen in this scene, and I love seeing that here. Because at first, John and Danny, they just have this really. Because John wants to do whatever he can to work things out with Danny. He's hoping that maybe he can work things out, reconnect with him, maybe help Danny out a little bit, show him that the family does care about him. It's simply too late, though. Danny is completely gone. He's gone at this point, honestly. The nice, kind-hearted Danny that we've seen in the first few episodes is gone. That Danny is gone completely. And, he even apologized for never standing up to their father, but Danny did. He wishes that he would have done something about it. He basically does everything that Danny wants him to do. The whole time, Danny's just laughing about it. He doesn't he's not serious. He doesn't give two shits what John says. He's gonna do what he's gonna do. And I love what John says to him. He's like, when are things gonna end? And Danny does not give him an answer. So naturally, John's just had it with him. And this is fucking amazing, honestly. Kyle Chandler, amazing in this scene. Amazing the whole season, but this scene in particular was amazing. Because he basically is asking when things are going to end. He attacks him, and we get this amazing scene where Danny's just laughing, they're wrestling in the ocean, and John is just saying, when's it going to end? When's it going to fucking end? And he actually ends up killing Danny in the process. So yes, Danny killed John. John killed Danny in episode 12, which I was really shocked about. I thought that episode 13 was going to be him killing Danny and his road to killing Danny. That's what I thought was going to happen. But no, they killed him off in episode 12, and wow, I have to say, it really benefited the show more because the show is very, very slow, and episode 11 picked things up so much that I think they just had to do that, honestly. And at the point we were in the show, he really had no choice but to kill Danny. I mean, how could someone not kill Danny after what he said? And I can totally understand why he did it, and that perfectly sets us to where we need to be in the show is in episode 13, which episode 13 is by far the best episode of this show so far. The episode 13 is amazing, and it feels very different from the rest of the show, I have to say. Episode 13, one of the things I love about episode 13 is that it feels very different from the rest of the show. It doesn't feel like the same show we've known, and that's probably because now that Danny's gone, the plot of the show changes a little bit. It's less about, can we trust Danny, and now it's more about, hang on one second, I'm fixing my lighting, guys, because my lighting sucks. It's now more about not can we trust Danny, but it's more about how can we go on? Like, how can we go on after killing Danny? Obviously, it's a huge thing that they deal with, and I love seeing that, how this happens in this episode, because basically, we see that John basically just panics. He has no idea what to do, which is understandable. I mean, he just realized he killed his brother. He didn't intend on killing his brother. He just held him underwater because he was sick of him, and he was waiting for him to give him an answer, and he didn't give him an answer, and he killed him in the process, and he didn't mean to, and I like that it was an accident. I like that John, again, it was an accident. That's something I thought was really well done about this show, is that they do, the way that when they kill people, it's an accident. Danny killed, just like Sarah was killed by accident, Danny was killed by accident. John didn't mean to kill him. He meant to basically just put him underwater and basically just force him to give him an answer, which he didn't do. So, obviously, that's what killed Danny. Danny honestly killed himself. He really did. If Danny would just given him a fucking answer, he wouldn't have killed him. It's that simple. So, we basically get to what we need to see. Now we see this dark time in the show, which is not as dark as we were expecting it to be, which is something I definitely like, is that they really hyped up this as to be like a very dark time, but it really wasn't. I like seeing that, definitely, because I really wasn't for this show getting darker, because it already was dark as dark as it needed to be. I really wasn't for it getting darker. So we see this amazing scene. Now I'm going to talk about what happened in the season finale, which you guys have not seen the season finale. I'm going to talk about it extensively, and there's a lot to talk about, definitely. So if you guys have not seen the season finale, I'm definitely going to talk about it. So here we go. So basically we see that basically after John killed Danny, he can barely hold himself together. He's panicking. He calls Meg. She tries to find Danny's body, and she drops him off at the hospital and picks up Kevin. Belle's about to tell him something. We don't know what she's about to tell him, but there's something that she's going to tell him. And I'm like, what the hell is she going to tell him? So the doctor tells John point blank that he didn't have a heart attack. He's just experiencing a lot of chest pain due to his high blood pressure, and that's basically what's going on. Now, Kevin and Meg, in the meantime, they have no idea what to do with Danny's body, which is understandable. I mean, what the hell do you do with that? I mean, your brother just killed your brother, so what the hell do you do about that? And they see, like, these kayakers, basically. They have to do whatever they can to put it in the trunk of Meg's car. And I really love what they decided to do here, because I thought this was definitely very smart. What they basically are just going to do is they're going to make Danny's death just look like he left town. They're going to make it look like he left, which they basically, what they do is they take all of his belongings away, they make him gone, and basically just make it seem like Danny's lost, because he basically was. I mean, they didn't know where Danny was before, so they're just going to continue that. So to everyone else, he's just gone, and I thought that was definitely very good. And Sally, of course, she's also freaking out. She has plenty of questions for, John and Kevin. She doesn't really know what's going on there. And I like that Kevin's encouraging her to leave the hospital, because Sally's the one person that should not find out. The whole season, she has been, but the thing I love about Sally, also, something I forgot to say about Sally in episode 12, that when Danny talks about his involvement with drugs, that is the moment that Sally realized we can't trust Danny, because all season long she's been like, maybe we can trust Danny, you should be nicer to Danny. That was the moment where she's like, no, we cannot trust Danny after what he did, and I loved seeing her go through that. That's something I definitely thought was very well done, I have to say. So, basically, she basically has to lie to the officer that John was sick and that's why she's leaving, And we see when Meg gets home, we see Meg getting a call from Danny, presumably from inside the trunk. She goes outside to pop the trunk, and then, she finds Danny dead, of course. And John is Danny's cell phone. He calls Meg, and Meg is unable to explain much to John, basically. And Marco comes to talk to her. And this I thought was really interesting because she just ends it with Marco right there. She's like, fuck it, I don't care about you. And I can understand why. He was just giving her way too much stress, too much to think about, and it was just way too much for Meg to simply think about. That's really what it was. That all the things that Meg wanted to think about had nothing to do with Marco. I don't think it was so much that she wanted to end it with Marco. It's that everything that she was thinking about, she just can't be with Marco right now. Now that Danny's dead, maybe if Danny hadn't died, maybe she could have been with Marco, but now that Danny's dead, oh, no, she cannot be with Marco anymore. There's no way she can be with Marco after this. So, basically, long story short, they hide Danny. They basically make it seem like Danny just was abandoned them, and basically that's what happened, and that he's gone. So I definitely really enjoy that, I have to say, because this really makes them a lot calmer, and it really calms down their lives, which is something that they definitely needed, especially after the craziness that happened. I like that they decided that they do need to calm down a lot, and we get this, even Sally, she doesn't know that Danny died, which is something I definitely feel like they need to tell her eventually, that they need to tell her that Danny did die, but I don't think they're ever really going to tell her. I really don't think it's going to happen. So Sally gives a great speech about how lucky she's been with her family, and we very quickly find out what Belle was going to tell Kevin, and that is that she's pregnant. When they spend the night together, she got pregnant, and now basically Kevin's going to be with her. It's really nice to see Kevin finally settle down with Belle, finally fix things with Belle, because where they've been all season, you're really not sure if they were going to fix things, but now I like that they are going to fix things, and I thought that was really well done, I have to say. I also love the scene where John told Meg and Kevin that he loved them, because that's something I don't think we've really seen. We've really seen the dynamic of the three of them, but they never really said I love you to each other, and I thought that was really well done that John said, you know what, we don't say this a lot, but I'm going to say it. I thought that was really good. Meanwhile, John is approached to become the sheriff of the town, and he's asking, a group of people if he really should do this, and we finally get that line where he says, we finally find out where those voiceovers are coming from. It is to this group of people, which I love finding out, because obviously we've been wondering, where the hell are these voiceovers coming from? And it's been to these group of people. He's trying to talk to them. He even says, we are bad people, but we've done a bad thing. And I thought that was really good. And we finally find out what that means. It has nothing to do with Danny's death. What he means by the bad thing is basically abandoning Danny, and that's what I like finding out, is that they never really treated Danny like part of their family. That's what he feels the bad thing is. He doesn't feel the bad thing is killing Danny, because that gave him hope. That gave him basically more of an open life and more to do with his life, and finally gave him something to basically something to focus on besides Danny. I thought that was really good, and everything seems to be going really well for everyone. I mean, Kevin ends up getting the job, basically ends up taking the offer from Nick, so he's gonna become more successful now. Diane and John are getting closer. Everything really seems to be going great, honestly. It really does, and I thought that was really good. I really enjoyed finding this out. I like seeing that. So, basically, I definitely like to find this out, that basically we basically see that everything seems to be going great for them. There are small things that are going on, but things are definitely calming down. Meg actually goes with Alec in New York. Kevin and Belle are living together at their house, excited about their upcoming baby. John's been offered the sheriff job, and just when it seems like everything's great, even Janie's great. Like, she's just texting like a normal teenager, which I thought was great. Just when it seems like everything's great, we see this guy that comes up to them, basically. Sally and Lenny are getting closer as well. I kind of feel like Sally and Lenny might get together, but then when it seems like everything's going great, this teenage boy approaches the family. We don't know who he is, but he talks about Danny, and we find out that this is Danny's son. He has no idea that Danny died, and shit is about to go down, and that is the perfect way to open Season 2. I love that cliffhanger. I know some people might think that was kind of cliched, but I thought that was an awesome cliffhanger, because how the hell can this show go on? Obviously, they renewed for Season 2, and this worked like a season. This felt like a series finale till that final scene, which I really love seeing. It pretty much closed out everything we've seen in this show, pretty much. It pretty much closed out everything minus that, and I thought that was really good that they actually left something open for Season 2. That was an awesome cliffhanger. And now let me talk about where I think Season 2 is going to go. Season 2, I think, is going to be very different than Season 1. I can already tell. The This episode in general felt different from season 1. Something I thought was great about this episode in general was more of the tension in this episode, more of it focusing more on the dynamic between John, Kevin, and Meg, which is something I think the show's done well, but I think this episode definitely touched upon that very well, I have to say. I guess season 2 is going to be a lot of them questioning this boy, where he is and why he's there, and basically telling him what's going on. He's got to find out at some point. We need to find out what happened with Danny, who, I don't really think who the mother is important. It's just, why is he going to find out what happened to Danny? That's something I definitely want to know. John being a sheriff, that's going to be interesting to see. He's not really working with Marco anymore, which I think is interesting. I really like the pairing between the two, but as I said, it's my least favorite storyline of the show. Really it is. It got really boring after a while. I like that we're giving Sally something more to do already. Her and Lenny, I definitely like seeing that. And she finds out, she knows now that her children are lying to her. She knows that. And he says that he found out some things about Danny, and I love that he told her that her children are lying to her. She's about to find out that they lied to her, and it's going to crush her. It really is, and I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, she's going to go from loving her children to absolutely despising them, and I can't wait to see what happens with Sally. That's going to be awesome. And everything else seems to be going really well, but it's about to all be crushed, and that's something I think Bloodline does a very good job with. It really makes it seem like everything's going great, and then just they turn a complete 180, and completely everything is just going to shit now. I mean, Meg's with Alec, which is great, but Kevin and Bella are together, but definitely everything's going to be ruined now that this boy's in town. This boy, I don't think he's going to ruin things. I think it's going to be what they did that's really going to have the biggest impact on them, because I'm very interested in seeing Sally's reaction, how she's going to feel about it, and that's going to be really interesting overall. So overall, guys, it was a really solid first season. Sorry if I got some of the plot details wrong. It's only because the season was a little bit too convoluted. If I had to pick one problem with the show, is that I did feel that it just got a little bit too slow from episodes 6 through 10. As episode 11 is when the show really started to pick up more. It still was a great show. It's just I felt like it got a lot better in episode 11, definitely. That's something I thought was really good. So overall, guys, I really enjoyed this season. I thought the cast worked great. The acting got better and better as the show went on, I have to say. The chemistry between the actors were great. That's one of the best things about the show by far, is the chemistry between the actors. I also loved how unpredictable the show was. I mean, I thought that the season finale was going to be seeing Danny's demise and how he got killed, but no, that was episode 12, and I thought that was great that episode 13 was the aftermath. A lot of shows have been doing that lately, but the thing about Bloodline is that they didn't do it where it was like nothing happened in episode 13. Tons of shit happened in episode 13. Tons of things are going to happen next season, which I can't wait for. But overall, guys, what did you think of this season? I cannot wait for next season. I know it's going to be awesome. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to review the season individually to you guys. I'm going to try to do it next season. I just couldn't really stick with it individually, but I'm very happy that I did finish it. It's the first hour-long Netflix show I finished. I mean, besides Orange is the New Black. I'm talking about current ones. It's the first one I finished, and that's awesome that I did that. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this show overall. I really do love this show, and I can't wait for a second season. And we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for Finding Carter. Yes, I'm catching up with Finding Carter, okay? You guys want to know what's going on with Finding Carter? I was going to ditch it, but I heard this week's episode is amazing, so I am definitely going to review the latest 2 episodes of Finding Carter. I will review both of them, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.